Hi everyone, my name is Jackie Lange and I'm here with Jason Russell from SEC and Firestorm Solutions, and what we're going to be talking today about is workplace violence and how prevalent it is in today's day and age. So Jason, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's roughly 2 million incidents of workplace violence a year. So anything from an assault to a shooting. So we focus really heavily on assisting organizations to make sure that they're prepared not only from a physical security standpoint, but also from a policy and procedure standpoint and training to really reduce, hopefully, the incidents of workplace violence, reduce the severity. And one of the big things that we focus on is having organizations understand the warning signs of somebody who's kind of going down that path towards committing a violent act.
So tell us a little about that. Tell us what to be looking for.
So I mean, there's a lot of different, there's fairly consistent behaviors of concern, we call them, that somebody might exhibit when they're kind of going down that path towards violence. So most people don't just wake up in the morning and decide they're going to go, carry out a shooting at their workplace. There's really very consistent behaviors that we see prior to that event. So things like stalking behavior. Many times they'll have what's called leakage, which is they won't directly threaten the workplace, but they'll make statements that lead you to believe that they might be kind of planning something. Usually these types of incidents will follow some type of a stress, so maybe the person's been demoted, they've been fired or terminated. So it's really important for organizations to pay close attention. First of all, to know the warning signs, and there's quite a few of them, and then also, what do we do if we see them? So we have this employee who's actually showing us these signs that maybe he's heading down this path. How do we intervene and hopefully pull them off that path so that they don't, commit that violent act? And if you think about physical security, an employee is allowed in the building. So all the things that we really focus really heavily on for security aren't going to work in these types of situations because it's somebody who's allowed in the building.
Right. So you are about preparing people and making it helping the employees be proactive in case of that type of scenario.
Absolutely. So we're all about prevention. Obviously, the best, to never have an incident is the best case scenario. So the more layers of prevention you can put in place, so not only from our site assessments, which are looking at your policies to make sure you have good procedures in place, looking at your physical security to make sure that it's appropriate, that it doesn't damage your operations or hurt your culture, but that it's appropriate for what you do. And then looking at, training. What have you done for training in case there is an incident? So really heavily on prevention with an understanding that, hey, we can take a lot of steps and still have something bad happen, and we need to be able to respond when it does. So the process really needs to be holistic. We can't just we kind of call it the 3 legs of the stool. You've got your physical security, you've got your policies and procedures, and you've got your training. And without all 3 of those pieces, you're really not done preparing.
Wow, and tell me a pain point that you see in so many workplaces in today's world.
Well, a big pain point is people just don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So, a lot of organizations think they're good because they have a security guard or because they watched a video on how to respond to an incident, but they haven't really taken a real in-depth approach to this problem. Many times budget is an issue. Culture can be an issue. They want to kind of maintain that, open and inviting environment, which is fine, but you also need to take some steps to make sure that you're prepared. So I think the real significant pain point is often just they don't know what they don't know. Security and law enforcement are not the same thing. So, I started off my career as a police officer, and what police officers do is respond when there is an incident, right? So you call and, thank God they're there to come and help you. Prevention is a whole different thing. You really need to think about how to put layers in place that can really prevent something from ever happening in the first place. But unfortunately, a lot of organizations think that it's the same. They think law enforcement and security is the exact same thing, and it's really not, unfortunately.
There's a big difference between reactive and proactive.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So what do you guys do? So what does Firestorm do when they go in, they do an assessment? Tell us a little bit more about the process.
Sure. So we always start with assessments, which is really, in order to get you where you need to be, I need to know where you are.
Right.
So we start with our site assessments, which is really kind of a granular examination of every piece of the safety and security, platform or a process that you have in place. So we're looking at environment, what's around you that could cause you an issue. We're looking at your physical security, what kind of access control do you have, what kind of locks do you have, all the things that can come into play that can be in the physical world. Then we're looking at policies and procedures, and that's where we really spend most of our time, which is, do you have a plan in place? Do you have proper procedures for responding to an incident? Do you have procedures for maybe even granting entry? Do you have procedures in place for when you terminate an employee? How do you deal with those types of situations? Or when you see the warning signs, when you start to see somebody heading down that path, what do we do? So that's kind of that happens all in the assessment. The second step is to make sure that whatever issues are found in the assessment, we fix. So we'll stay with our clients to really, it's about not just the diagnosis, but also about the treatment, right? So we make the diagnosis, here's your problems, and then here's how you fix those problems. And then the last piece, all of that is tied together with training, which is really the most critical element. Human beings in emergencies don't rise to the occasion, they sink to the level of their training. So you want to make sure that you round everything out with that training piece, which is really kind of what ties it all together. And then really follow through and follow up, which is kind of maintaining that relationship with the client so that when they do have questions and they have concerns, they can come to you as an expert and say, hey, what do we do about this now? So we try to maintain long-term relationships and really become a part of the culture of any type of organization that we're working with.
Well, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box below or visit firestorm.com.